Hi guys, we're back with game number 2 against Jund. We lost game 1 against them, just getting out grinded. So hopefully we can be able to bounce back and beat him in game 2. We decided to keep the one lander because we have access to Steam Vents, which gives us Serum Visions, Thought Scour, Gitaxian Pro. We have plenty of card draw. Plus Engineer Explosives is going to be good against anything like Tarmogoyf, Skoos, Dark Confidant, anything like that. So we have plenty of draws we can get ourselves to. We decided to keep both cards on top. They look good. We had a Murder's Cut off the top, which is not the greatest card right now because we don't have the colored mana for it. But we are lucky enough that our opponent does not have a Thoughtseize or Inquisition, so our hand is relatively safe right now. We hit Scalding Tarn off of the Serum Visions, which allows us to hit both of our colors, all three of our colors, I'm sorry. So that way we can be able to Thought Scour, Murder's Cut if necessary, and we decided to hold back Probe, just so then, if we draw a Young Pyromancer or something, we can be able to Young Pyromancer, Probe, get a creature off, and hopefully be able to outgrind them there. Also, it would be nice later on, so that way you know exactly what to be playing around if we have counter magic. Opponent decides to just play a fetch line to pass the turn. We are going to fetch for a Watery Grave, then I believe we are Thought Scouring ourselves, so then that way we can be able to feed our graveyard a little bit more, and then hopefully be able to cast some stuff next turn. So Thought Scour ourselves, hit a Gurmag, which is not the card we wanted to hit, and a Sulphur Falls. Another card we'd like to have in our hand, but we get him out instead, so we still have that third land. We decide to probe now, see what we have to play around now that we have a Spell Snare. And we see 3-4 juicy cards, like Skoos, Tarmogoyf, and Golgari Charm. Golgari Charm, I'm assuming, is to be brought in against Young Pyromancer tokens or against Blood Moon itself. So I can understand that being a good card right now. It's able to hit Splinter Twin very well, actually, because it can blank the entire turn for Deceiver Exarch, destroy the Twin combo itself, or kill a Pestermite. It's also good against just Young Pyromancer itself and Elves, so props to him using Golgari Charm. We do manage to hit a Slaughter Pact off the top with Gitaxian Probe. And we bring in Slaughter Pact this game because it's able to hit all the important cards besides Tasigur and Olivia Voldaren. And I haven't seen either one of those cards in the matchup earlier, so the ability to just be able to kill those two cards with either Terminator or Murderous Cut still fine, but the ability to kill a Goyf or a Skoos or something else with 0 mana is really useful. Unfortunately, we did not probe a turn later, so that way we could be able to see Choke. But fortunately for us, because we have mana up, our opponent decides to play it safe and not get screwed out by a Choke, and not get it countered. So I believe this turn he just passes the turn. But yeah, that Boil is interesting right now because it is useful against Delver and Twin, mostly. There aren't really a lot, well, there's Mono Blue Tron, but there's not a lot of decks out there right now that seem to be very weak to Boil at this moment. I feel like that card would be useful somewhere else. The Thrun, I feel, is a great card against Delver. Can't be countered, can't be killed, regenerates, and it's a 4-mana 4/4. So it's pretty strong against Jund or against Delver, because the only card we have that really block it would be Gurmag Angler or Tasigur, which would eat a removal spell quite nicely for the Jund deck. We decide to bolt, just so then we can be able to have Bolt Snap Bolt ready up this next turn. We draw Mana Leak, so that way we have protection from other spells, which is a great draw. And now we can just be able to play on our opponent's turn. Our opponent draws Liliana of the Veil, which is another card where it's difficult for us to be able to play around because it's just discard, 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 forces us to Edict. If we don't have a Young Pyromancer out, we're pretty much screwed. But thanks to having Mana Leak, we can be able to play around that. Our opponent decides not to play anything, just discards the Choke, which I feel like you possibly could have just casted the Choke. But I understand holding up the mana, so that way you can Golgari Charm, Blood Moon just in case. So I feel that there is merit to holding up, because there's no threat in play. But now there is, thanks to Snapcaster Mage. And now we just keep on trucking through, drawing another mana leak, so we can counter 3 of his spells. Our opponent draws a third Tarmogoyf, which now I feel like forced his hand. He has to play something. And I agree, playing the Tarmogoyf is probably the best play here. But he just finds himself really weak to a Blood Moon. But having the fetch stun still available, it's fair to keep it like that. I understand that. So we find one of our Tarmogoyfs out. We draw Gitaxian, which is huge, so that way we know to deal with more cards. Pay 2 life, because that way we can be able to hold up more counter magic. We see a Liliana the Veil, which is another big card we need to counter. And we draw Tasigur. And since we draw Tasigur, it'd be a 2-turn clock after this for Tasigur out. And we can protect him with Mana Leak. So we decide to actually cast Tasigur. So after we cast a Tasigur, pass back the turn, hold up Mana Leak, hide Engineer Explosives, and Slaughter Pact for game 3 if necessary. And our opponent draws a Scavenging Ooze, which is definitely a good card in this matchup, able to mess with our delve spells, gain life, get big, hard to bolt. Our opponent decides to play a Tarmogoyf, which we in turn decide to Mana Leak. That way we can be able to get in more damage. And we keep him off tempo as well. We draw Polluted Delta, pretty good draw. It allows us to have both Slaughter Pact, our Murderous Cut, and Mana Leak available. So we just pass back the turn, opponent draws our card, Abrupt Decay does not let him kill the Tasigur. The only hope that he has now is just a Liliana, but he just decides to concede. Which I believe that you could have at least played the Liliana, see if I could have had Mana Leak, and you might have been able to, well actually no, because that way there's only 2 life left. Yeah, I can understand that position then. Okay, so that's game 2 against Jun. Now we are tied against Aller 1-1. Grixis, Delvers, when I'm playing in this matchup. We will see you guys back in game 3, which will be a 2-part video because that's actually a pretty long video. So see you guys in a bit. Thanks.